You're listening to the BJJ Globetrotters Pirate Radio podcast, brought to you from St. Bart in the French West Indies. We talk jiu-jitsu, traveling, and people who do things a bit different in life. I am your host, Christian Graugard. Hello everyone, and welcome to the BJJ Globetrotters Pirate Radio podcast, episode 17. It is still pandemic time, the world is burning, nobody can train jiu-jitsu, but I found an interview that I managed to schedule an interview that I've been wanting to do for a long time, with a couple that I met on my round the world trip more than 10 years ago in Romania. I think they have a really interesting story, and they fit right into the theme of the podcast of people who do things a little bit different in life. So I'm just going to jump right into to the interview, and then I'll get back to you after. Enjoy. So the theme of this podcast, I don't know if you've been listening to any episodes or not, but the theme of the podcast is obviously jiu-jitsu and traveling, but also people who do things a little bit different in life. And I think that you guys fit in a little bit there. So that's kind of the theme I wanted to talk about. Because for myself, I always kind of like to see if there are some things that are done in a certain way, then I always find it kind of interesting or curious to see if you can do it in a slightly different way and see if that works out. And I kind of have the sense that you guys are, or at least I see that you're kind of doing similar things. So those are the things that I'd like to talk about for this episode. Yeah. Why don't you do a quick introduction, just like a super short introduction of yourself, and then I have kind of a little game plan of how I think this could go. So please.
Okay, so I'm Robert McMasters, and I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I've been doing jiu-jitsu almost 17 years now, and we live in Asheville, North Carolina. I guess that's an intro.
Yeah. I'm Amanda McMasters. I'm Bobby's wife, and I am a 4-stripe white belt.
And how long have you been doing jiu-jitsu, Amanda?
I've been doing jiu-jitsu a little over 3 years, but my very first jiu-jitsu class was in 2005, and then I stopped.
He didn't even give you a blue belt yet? How awkward.
Right?
Look at that smug smile on his face right there. So, just for the listeners, I can see you guys, but you can't see me, so... Okay, let's take it from the beginning. I wonder if I can actually find the first email you ever sent me.
Oh, geez.
That would be interesting, because this whole thing actually started when I did this round the world trip. I'm gonna look up my email right now. I'm sure I can find this. I'm just gonna sort by. Oh, you sent me a lot.
Yeah.
148.
Good
oh,
Lord.
Here it is. So what I did back in 2010 or something, 2010, I posted like on every single forum I could find, hey, I'm going to travel anywhere in the world. If anyone knows anywhere they want to invite me, I'll teach for free. And if you have a couch or something, I'll come by. And I have an email from June 7, 2010. Oh, we're more than 10-year anniversary.
Wow.
That's nice, huh? And it says, hey, Christian, my friend told me about your trip, and I'm a U.S. citizen currently living in Moldova, and we'll move back to Romania. Blah, blah, blah. Pretty much, you just invited me to come by Moldova. And I was like, where on earth is Moldova? And I had to look that up. But anyway, you even attached like a 5-page Word
Lord.
document about the project. Anyway, so I'm like, oh sure, that was okay. So I replied actually less than 2 hours. I would definitely like to come by, and that was pretty much it. So and then I came to Moldova, and you tell me what was this all about? What were you doing there?
Yeah, so it was interesting that like you got email. I was in Moldova, and Um, yeah, I think we were like in exile there. I think we were having issues with our Romanian visa, but we were trying to live in Romania. And so, yeah, we were like, had to be outside of Romania for a certain amount of time. And I think that's when I sent you the email. So,
Why were you
um,
trying to live in Romania?
yeah, so we were, well, all right. So we had done Peace Corps in Moldova, which is an American volunteer organization run by the federal government. And then we moved back to the US for a couple years. And I don't know, it was just kind of boring. So we were like, hey, let's go live in Romania. And so we kind of went out there without a real concrete plan, including how we're going to stay there legally. So we kind of overstayed a little bit, and we had to kind of do a border hop, and we wound up spending like 3 months again in Moldova. Yeah, but any case, I had heard about. I'm remarkably unconnected in when it comes to jujitsu. So like somebody just emailed me and said, hey, this guy's going like trying to go around the world. It'd be cool if he went to Moldova, and so I emailed you, and yeah, it just kind of happened from there. I guess I responded to your emails enough, and so you came out, and we hung out in Romania and Moldova.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through. I'm going to put some pictures on the podcast post, but I'm just scrolling through some of these pictures. I forgot all about these.
Oh,
You picked me up
geez.
with a very beautiful sign in the airport.
Yeah,
You
I do remember that sign.
you lost some weight and some hair since I see that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think we traded hairdos, man.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, so we were first I came to Romania, right? And then
Yeah.
we went training same evening. That was pretty cool. And went sightseeing. I see a picture in front of a bar with a sign that says, "Sometimes love is worth paying for."
Oh
It's pretty
God.
nice.
I don't know anything about that.
Well, it might be true. Anyway, okay. Tell me some stories about your life in Romania and Moldova. I especially want to hear about. Didn't you win a goat or something in a village wrestling competition or some stuff like that?
Yeah. So yeah. So we were yeah, part of Peace Corps, and we were in Moldova for a little over 2 years. And like our major project was health education, but I had a number of side projects, and one of them was the jiu-jitsu program there. Um, and yeah, just as I guess part of what jiu-jitsu people do, like way out in the middle of nowhere in countries that people have never heard of, is they enter in village wrestling contests just to show that jiu-jitsu works. Because the Gracie Challenge is different everywhere. Um, and yeah, I entered in. They have a sports day every year, and they have like kind of like a folk wrestling style.
Maybe
Um,
could you just quickly set the scene for where this is and what kind of place it is? Because I think there's a little bit.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, going into all right. So going into Peace Corps, like I was like really looking forward to maybe doing like some sambo and some wrestling with some like awesome guys out in a city somewhere. But Peace Corps placed me in like the middle of nowhere little village with nothing, no wrestling, no mats, no anything. And so I was kind of pissed off at first, but I figured we just go ahead and start the program. But anyway, so after that, the summertime came, and they had the sports day, and so everybody comes, and soccer is the major focus of these sport days. But they have like I don't know donkey racing, they have
Weightlifting.
yeah, sort of
Kind
weightlifting.
of. They lift heavy
They
things.
do different things. There's like I don't know gymnastics, basketball, volleyball. So it's a big sports day.
Ribbon dancing.
Ribbon dancing was one year, yeah.
It's a
Um,
post Soviet country, and so um, I don't know. A lot of those things look like communist things.
yeah. But anyway, so the main thing was soccer, but then they had wrestling on the side, and it was the winner of each kind of like division got different things. So the winner of the little boys division got like a rooster, and the winner of like the adolescent division got a rabbit, and then the winner of the men's division got a ram. So not quite a goat, but a ram, I guess, is a type of sheep. Um, Yeah, and so there was our village, which was is about 3,000 people total, and a number of the neighboring villages, which probably totals to being around like 12,000 or something. So they kind of everybody sent like their best sports people, and so yeah, I entered in the wrestling, and it was just like a single elimination, um, but yeah, I wound up winning. I beat this enormous guy. I couldn't do that these days. I'm a little long in the tooth now, but back then, yeah, I beat this guy just kind of like by exhaustion. I think he was too big for me to get him down and pin him. So
What were the
um,
rules even?
um, yeah, the rules were, we'll say, interpretive. So part of the reason I couldn't pin him is because they kept making us stand up again every time I got close to pinning him because he was kind of like the village favorite. Um, and so technically, in the end, they said that we tied and we had to share the sheep. But and I had never really handled a sheep before, so they gave it to me, and like I got this picture of me hoisting the sheep up in the air. But like what you don't see is the sheep like pissed all over me. And anyway, we wound up having a barbecue with the sheep and the soccer team that won, and yeah, it was good. It was very interesting tournament. But as far as the rules, yeah, the rules were a little bit blurred. Technically, like it's a lot like Western wrestling, but you kind of start with different grips. Um, I have like a rule set for it, but I haven't looked at it in like forever. But it's just, I mean, it's like a hybrid between wrestling and judo, I would say, is like the closest way I could describe it.
Right. And anyway, so I show up in Romania and we do a bit of sightseeing there and training, and then we take the bus to Moldova. I remember the bus
Yeah.
crashed in the snow.
Yeah, we almost
Right?
died. Yeah.
We almost died. It was like maybe the second or third stop on my entire trip, and I already died,
Yeah.
almost died. So anyway, kind of survived. We got a story out of that. And then we went to this little village, 2,000 people. This is where you worked, right? Or stayed, or
Yeah.
yeah,
So
you
right.
used to.
So you're assigned to like a community for 2 years or so. You can extend after that, but yeah, I was in this village for 2 years.
And this is where you started the jiu-jitsu program. Am I
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Tell me
so I
about it.
was, I was a white belt. I had college wrestling experience, but fairly limited jujitsu. So we just kind of, I started a club really hoping that I would get some adults in there. And like I said, like my goal was like to learn some really awesome post-Soviet grappling and all that stuff. But the no adults showed up to my class, so just a bunch of like teenage boys showed up. So I guess that was more or less my team, and that's all I really had. So I got some mats out there, um, and yeah, we ran a jujitsu program for like a couple years, and a couple of the kids got pretty good. One of them is a black belt now, actually, my former student. I'm a brown belt. He's a black belt. He's way better than me now, but he's making his living doing jujitsu, which is really great. That's like the whole idea of sustainability is that that people can kind of like take a skill and make a living out of it. And so it was really great.
And you guys seem pretty confident in the language and stuff. Like how long, how much work did it take you to learn that? Is it a difficult one or?
Yeah, I mean, we're yeah, I would say like so I got to a point I would say like 9 months in where I could handle pretty much any conversation, or at least I could find my way through it. But the Peace Corps has a really good like language program, and also you're immersed in it. So Moldova is kind of like I think one of the rare places in the world where not many people really speak English. At least they didn't back 15 years ago when we were out there. So it's like you're forced to learn it. So there's no, it's not. I took like 3 years of Spanish, and I can't probably even ask like say my name, what's my name is, and all that other stuff. So, but when you're immersed in it, you're kind of forced to learn it, and so we were kind of forced to learn it pretty fast. We had to teach in the language, so that was a little tough at first, especially like when it comes to jujitsu. Like I remember there was just so many strain. Like looking back now that I have a better grip on the language, when I first started, like the names and stuff for moves and positions are just so weird. And even the name for submission is just like it doesn't even make any sense. So I was like teaching these kids, all these weird words and stuff. And then when they went and they interacted with Romanians, which is the same language, yeah, it'd be like, well, it's just kind of weird terms for stuff, I guess. And thanks to me and my really good Romanian back in the day. But yeah, I don't know. It was pretty quick acquisition of the language, but we're still very much like foreign speakers of Romanian, not anything fluent. Your English is much, much better than our Romanian will probably ever be. So if you want to put that in perspective.
I probably also had the opportunity to practice a bit more.
Yeah.
What were you doing, Amanda, since you're not doing jiu-jitsu back then?
Bobby and I were in separate villages because at the time we weren't married. We met in Peace Corps. So I was in a different village, and I had our health education. I was in the same program, and I had a couple clubs. I had like an English club, and then I inherited a baseball club. There was a volunteer who had been in the village right before me, and she was really into baseball. And so she started a baseball club. And so when I got there, all the kids just kind of saw me as like a replacement. And so they wanted to know when we were starting baseball, and I'm not terribly athletic and I'm afraid of the ball. And, but I had my parents send me some like coaching youth baseball books, and I got into it. And by the end of it, the kids were like, wow, Coach Amanda, you're really getting good at catching the ball. So I consider that a win.
You're an American. You're supposed to be able to teach baseball.
Right?
Right. And how, so what do you tell people who like, do you recommend people doing stuff like this? I mean, that's kind of a wild trip to just go to Romania of all places and learn Romanian and work there. I mean, what do you tell people about this as an opportunity to travel or do something very different than going to Mexico for a holiday?
Well, I think we were in a really lucky position to have Peace Corps, which is the volunteer program, available to us because it does allow you, it gives you all the tools to essentially go to another country and live in that country, maybe not necessarily as locals live, but as close as possible to the way locals live, which, as I said, is a really like unique opportunity because when you travel somewhere, you have a limited period of time, you have limited knowledge, you have limited contacts. And so going through Peace Corps, gives you that automatic network of people who are going to kind of take you in. They're going to show you, what it's like to live there day to day. We both lived in small villages, agricultural communities. So we saw what it was like, and when someone's making a meal, what that takes, they can't just go to the local grocery store and pick everything up on their list. Like the local market has like flour, and that's flour and sugar, and maybe that's all you pick up from the market, and everything else you have to go into your backyard and pick the carrots and the potatoes and all of that. So it does give you a unique perspective into traveling and a different way of looking at things, and then being able to look at yourself and the way that you are living in your home country. So I definitely recommend it. And as we've traveled other places too, we haven't been able to get that same experience because maybe we don't have that connection with people when we travel to other places. But I'm sure one of the things that you found when you were traveling around was if you could get connected with people there who already knew the culture, who already knew kind of the lay of the land, it really enriches the experience that you get when you go somewhere.
What's the? I'll be honest here. I actually don't really know anything about the Peace Corps. What's the deal with it? Can anyone sign up, or what kind of? How does it work in practical terms?
So it's that particular organization is an American government organization. It was started in 1961 by John F. Kennedy. And the idea was to accomplish three goals: to learn about other cultures, and like as an American, to share American culture with other places, that's something other than, our government and things that our government does. So actual individuals. And then the third goal was education. So for those American volunteers to go out.
Sustainability.
Is sustainability the wrong?
I mean, yeah.
Anyway, something like that. But yeah, so you have to be an American citizen. And the application process, I feel like, is kind of in and of itself a good way to weed out people, because it takes a lot of patience. They ask for a lot of paperwork. You go through like medical exams and stuff like that. And for me, I think the application process took about 9 months, which is pretty fast. That happened to be how long it took. But you write essays and stuff like that. And then it's typically a 2-year commitment to a country that's a developing country. And that country has like a partnership with the Peace Corps program, and they take a certain number of volunteers every year and place them in different villages or cities with different projects. So I think the first Peace Corps project in the 60s was teaching English and AIDS education in Africa. And at this point, it's...
The first programs were English education. Mm-hmm. So that's still the base of Peace Corps, I think, is English education. But the idea is to kind of like teach the teachers how to teach English and just kind of enrich usually smaller communities, although people are placed in cities as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a good organization, like I had never been out of the country before I joined the Peace Corps, and Peace Corps pays for everything. So like I was way too broke to even afford to go to Mexico or something. So, it was great for me. I really enjoyed my time with the Peace Corps. I'm also glad to not be in Peace Corps anymore. But it's a good organization, and I would suggest that other people go and spend, extended periods of time somewhere that they're not familiar with. I think that's good for all of us, usually.
Yeah, for sure. I remember I was impressed as to how connected you were, like locally, and in obviously when you tell the story, it's obviously how you ended up like that, but how well you knew the locals and kind of navigate around such a small place that seemed so extremely remote from anything else where you normally travel to.
Yeah,
I think that was
all staged completely just for you.
They were all American actors. And you just made up the language.
Exactly.
No, it was nice. For me, this was early in my trip, and that was kind of inspiring, because I thought, I really got to try to do the same on this trip, to really like deeply connect with locals to get as much as possible out of this experience. I remember that. So we did. So I spent a few days. We took the bus to Moldova. We spent a few days there. I was teaching the kids class with no heating. That was the coldest class I ever did in my life.
Yep.
Really fun though. I remember they had I'm just looking through the pictures. Oh yeah, they didn't have a football goal, so they just chalked a goal on the wall. That was that's pretty cool. That was fun to train with them, and man, that was freezing. There was no light, but there were some street lights they'd stolen, right, and put up in the room because there was no light. It was getting really dark and cold. That's great. And then we visited a school. I never forget the bathrooms in that school. It was literally just a hole in the ground with poop all around it.
Yeah.
Not even stalls or anything, like nothing. This picture's on my old blog.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
oh yeah.
it's better now. Just FYI, it's like they have composting toilets now.
Oh yeah.
A little bit of an upgrade.
Yeah. And what else? I'm just scrolling through these pictures. And what's with this program now? I remember we donated a ton of geese to them. We had people ship them in. But how's it going now? Do you know? How are the kids doing? Of course, I know. What was the name? Sandu or someone
Yeah.
who was. I follow him on Facebook a little bit. Who's still
Right.
training black belt now. But how, you know how that class is doing? How your kids are doing? Like I was teaching kids for a while back in Copenhagen, and I still follow them like in everything they do. But how's that project going now?
So from what I understand, so the Andu who you're talking about, that's the guy I was talking about who's a black belt now. I was fortunate enough to have gone out, guys, a couple years ago now to watch him get his black belt at a summer camp in Bulgaria, which is a really cool experience. But he has two programs now. One is down south in a bigger kind of town, about 45 minutes away from where the original school was, and he has another school in the capital. So he has like two programs now. As far as that original program, nobody really kind of kept going with it after I left. After I left, Sandu took it over, and then he basically moved the program to like a bigger city so he could actually make some income. And so now he's making a living teaching jiu-jitsu, which is really awesome. But as far as like, I don't have the same pictures of the kids like in front of me as you do, but I would say, I could probably go through, like I'm still in contact with them on Facebook. I could probably go through and tell you what everybody's doing, but pretty much everybody works abroad. There aren't a lot of job opportunities in Moldova. So Moldova's like, I don't know if for your American listeners, Moldova is kind of like Europe's Mexico. They have, there are a lot of people who have migrated for work and in other countries, usually like Italy, Ireland, also Russia. Those would be probably the main. Germany, Germany's pretty common. But yeah, most of them are either, just working abroad, just trying to make ends meet, or just living their lives. I mean, as far as the program goes, it's not really there in the same place, in the same form that it was, 15 years ago, whatever it is now. But it's, at the same time, it's like all of my former students now have kids, and I get hit up every now and again by just some random ass student of mine who happens to be like in my state or something, asking about how they can get their kids involved in jiu-jitsu, which program's good. And so that's really nice to see, because there's almost like a tradition of like jiu-jitsu. People know what it is, and that's really awesome, I guess. But yeah, the program itself isn't really, I guess, there anymore in its original form.
Yeah.
I don't even know really what happened to the mats. All the gis and stuff, I know were used heavily, but it's nice because now they have like they buy and sell their own gis and things like that, and it's sustainability. That's like the best thing that could happen, and so it's that's what happened out there. And I'm completely hands off now. They're like, we used to kind of like run like the first few like national tournaments, and I'm not involved in that anymore, which is actually really great, because it's all 100% Moldovans doing, running their own program. So
that's nice. All right, so let's move on. I ran into you guys again later in the U.S., I think, on the same trip.
That's
right.
The same trip?
Yeah, it was just me, I think. Yeah.
No, we went to.
No, you're both there.
It was in Virginia.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. So before that,
went to an all-American
Virginia,
barbecue.
Yeah. Right.
that was very culturally interesting for me. Huh?
The fallopian quarter. We were playing some stupid game, and there was a quarter or something from the Philippines, and it got named the fallopian quarter.
Yeah, Yeah, I was I was far away from home there. Okay.
Yeah, that's my family.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so you guys moved back to the U.S. at some point, and what you moved around a little bit, and then you ended up where? Let's hear the quick story of what happened after this Eastern European adventure.
Yeah, so our time in Romania kind of came to an end, and we were ready to move on, ready to do our own thing. So we moved back to the U.S. We moved around a little bit. I got my purple belt in Texas from Carlos Diego Ferreira, and then we moved to Colorado and trained a little bit there. And then we wanted to find like our place to be. And so we kind of came through. We went from Colorado out to the East Coast, and came through this place in North Carolina. And we had never, dealt with property and like big sums of money before, so we kind of wanted to see what the process was like. So we came through, and the first property the real estate agent showed us was this property here. So this is the very first property we ever saw on our first experience with buying property, but it was I wouldn't say it was like perfect. It's a little more work than what we wanted. We've got a couple houses and a gym and a campground.
What kind of place is it when you say it's a property? I mean, let's, because I've seen the pictures, but maybe the listeners have not.
So it's most of the times, like when you buy property, you're just like looking at a house. But this was about 5.5 acres of various like buildings and property.
Basically like
in the mountains.
Yeah, in the mountains. Like I bet basically like an old country guy used to own a whole bunch of property. He sold little sections of it off, and he was left with this weird mixture of buildings and property that had been neglected for decades. And it was cheap, but it was pretty much perfect for what we wanted to do. So,
yeah.
What did you want to do?
Well, we've always been kind of like, we've always enjoyed hosting people, so we wanted to do that, I guess, on a more professional level. So we wanted eventually to like have like a guest house, but that wasn't going to happen. So we made a campground instead. And we didn't have any money trying to pay the mortgage and stuff, and so we just decided to build these kind of like structures and stuff out of because there's a lot of trash on this property. There's a lot of trash, and there's like a lot of like basically free building material out there. And so we make stairs out of tires, and we recycle like truck bed tops for like shelters. And so we kind of built up this campground. I think we got like 18 spots now or something like that.
Yeah. And it's a mixture of like primitive tent camping sites and these like sleeping pod things. We have folks, we host people doing work exchange kind of deals. And so they work for us, and we give them a place to stay. And so one of those people is a professional artist. And so he's done all of our art. He's done the mural on our gym. He's decorated all of our sleeping pods.
Designed our rash guard.
He's designed our rash guard. Yeah. So anyways, it makes things look a little bit less like trash.
A little bit less like trash, just under trash. So just below trash. So you built a gym there, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
as one of the things you wanted to build.
Right. Yeah. So we wanted basically to have hospitality and to have jiu-jitsu, and so and eventually basically combine the two. Which is what we had planned before 2020 showed up and ruined everything for us. Well, it didn't ruin it. It just delayed it. We're going to hopefully kind of start doing that next year. But it was just kind of like, well, let's do jiu-jitsu and let's do hospitality. So now I have like a gym in my backyard, and then, well, actually my front yard. And then we have a campground in the backyard, which is like a dream for most people. and it's honestly really awesome, and we're very fortunate to have it. Um, so we're just very lucky people, I think, to be able to kind of create our own, I don't know, little happy space out here.
So so the people who come to visit, like, how long do they stay for? Is it like travelers staying for a night? You have people staying like permanently, or how's that?
Yeah, all of the above. I think the person we've had around the longest, she's been here about a year and a half, Michael.
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years
Yeah.
now. Otherwise, yeah, people just can like come through and maybe just a couple days. We have people who just kind of come out for the day just to see it, and they want to do some like eco building.
That's what we call building with trash. It's called
Building
eco building.
with trash is called eco building. Yeah, there's no like concrete anything, and
But yeah, we've had people like, for example, we've had folks come just for the weekend. Back in the day when we had open mats, they would come for the weekend, train with us, do open mats. We have a guy from Florida who has his own like little pull behind trailer, and when he feels like coming up for fly fishing, he stays with us for about a week. He's a black belt, owns a couple schools down there. And so he'll come and he'll like either train with us or he'll teach classes for like the week that he's here, kind of like in exchange for staying with us. And then we had someone who stayed with us for like about a year. And so a little bit on a more long-term basis. And he helped with our classes, stuff like that. So people kind of come for all, for all different lengths of time, just kind of depending on what their plan is, or, if they're at a point in their life when they're just like, yeah, I need to get away for a week or a month or 3 months. So yeah, we're really happy to have that kind of diversity of like input and stuff like that, both jiu-jitsu wise and then life wise. Is kind of nice to have different people around.
How big is the place?
Like Go ahead.
How big is the place? I'm just trying to get an idea of what kind of. How
so
many people do you fit there usually?
Well, let me see. Okay, so the campground is kind of separate from. It's really hard to describe, man. This is so tough to describe. So the campground is like separate. That's listed on like Airbnb and HipCamp. And so people just kind of come and go whenever they want. They're paying customers. And then we have basically like an intentional community surrounded by jiu-jitsu, which does not really involve the campground. And so we this kind of happened during the pandemic. Like, jiu-jitsu is very intimate. Like if somebody has COVID and you train with them, like you're definitely going to get COVID. It's so we kind of have like this little training group right now. How many of those are there? Like 7 or 8 people that actually train. Yeah.
Like at the moment during the pandemic.
Right.
Within our pod.
Yeah.
So the pandemic kind of like forced us to sort of have like, start an intentional community. So we're very, we don't roll with anybody else outside of our little training group. I teach classes now, at least up to now, behind like this, we call it the Pope Mobile. It's like this big plastic thing. I don't know what good it does, to be honest with you, but it mostly it at least tells people like, hey, don't go up and touch this guy and try to grapple with this guy because he's behind this like quarantine tent thing. So it's a little bit different now, but we're still training. We train judo and jiu-jitsu, and we train like 7 or 8 times a week or so. So it's basically like we're just a community of jiu-jitsu people, and we, everybody pitches in by doing work and in the campground, or just fixing old shitty stuff, or building weird things out of trash. Or
does anyone live there who trains jiu-jitsu, or like?
Yeah, so everybody who trains with us lives with us.
Okay, like at the moment, or is that also in general non-pandemic times?
Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have Like we used to host people in our house because we had like a tiny little guest room. But we've since kind of developed other spaces for people to live in. We got an RV that doesn't move, and so we installed it behind our gym. That's where one person lives.
There's one room in the gym.
There's one room, and so we put like a bed in it and a desk. That's about it. Somebody at one point called it our jiu-jitsu jail cell because it's in the gym.
It's obviously a very nice place.
There are a number of people who we've actually got 4 we call them bus people. They all live in like retrofitted school buses.
The bus people.
Yeah, so we've got a growing bus people
community. 4 bus dwellings right now, right? 4?
Yep.
4, yeah, and then there's the RV, which I guess is sort of like a bus.
Yeah, and then we've renovated some space in what was a garage. We've turned it into like a bathhouse for the campground and for work exchange people.
Like a bunkhouse. It's got, I think, 6 spots up there. It's just like a kind of like a hostel shared bunk room type thing, which we had plans for that being somewhere where people would stay. I mean, plans kind of changed, but we're adapting to it or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, so the answer to the question is that everybody kind of lives here, but not necessarily like with each other.
Yeah, but we all we eat together. We're always constantly around each other, and so we try to be very careful, when we go into the community and visit family and friends or whatever outside of the community. And we have a rule, that nobody rolls with anybody else. As much as I really hate that as like a thing, it's like you kind of have to do that right now, or at least that's what we decided on as a community. That's the way we're going to kind of approach the situation.
And then I was thinking, even let's just pretend there's no pandemic and talk like normal times, because I think the entire year we just always talk about special restrictions and we have to do this now, we have to do this now. It's like, I'm getting so tired of this. So let's imagine it's a normal time and your place runs normally and you don't have to worry about any of this. So you've been, I remember, didn't you posted on the members of BJ Globetrotters group to try to invite some instructors over, right? Did you guys do that at some point?
Yeah, we love people coming by. I don't really have, I'm not part of like a traditional association, and like I don't have like a really like a sensei like kind of like instructing me where to go with my jiu-jitsu stuff. So I really rely on other people coming by, kind of like showing what they're good with, and then that way my students don't get the same old boring like Bobby McMaster's really cool jiu-jitsu. They get other people's input and ways of looking at things, and I think that's really important. And so we're always trying to encourage, guest instructors and other people to come by and train with us.
And did you have anyone come by to stay for a while, or how did it work out? Because I often find like through the years people have been posting on that group looking for instructors or something, and it always turned out some really cool stories. So I'm curious if it worked or not.
It has, I think part of it is like we've had some great people come through, and you can even still see like some people like, I learned this move from this guy like 2 years ago. So it's like their jiu-jitsu is also here, which is kind of a cool thing to see. But I think a lot of people just don't know about it though. We'd love to get more people through. It's mostly just me teaching all the classes, which was not my original vision. We really want to get more people and have it kind of a more decentralized learning environment, but it just hasn't happened yet. So I'm hoping like podcasts like this, people will hear it and be like, hey, I want to come and stay for a couple weeks and teach and train jiu-jitsu. And so that's kind of one of our goals.
Yeah. One of the more longer term people who came through, he stayed for a little over a year. He was originally the one set up in the non-movable RV. And so he, in exchange for staying, we kind of had it worked out with him where he would like teach the kids classes. He and Bobby kind of rotated who would teach the fundamentals classes or the advanced classes. And yeah, he just kind of like became part of our community, part of the gym. And people, it was nice having more than one instructor because people connect differently with different people. They learn better from different styles of teaching, and the other guy had a very different style, and so it was good to have that diversity. And so he was with us for about a year.
He's the most long-term person, but we have recurring people that come through for like maybe a couple weeks, once every 6 months or so. Rich Sab, who's ranking us, comes by, roughly like every 6 months. So it's great having him out here.
People really look forward to his visits and like learning from him. Like I said, the guy from Florida who comes up with his trailer, or his, I guess trailer sounds trashy. It's nice. But who comes up for a week at a time, and he'll teach the kids classes. He's got great like enthusiasm. It kind of refreshes some of our ideas for like kids games, stuff like that. The adults seem to really like his classes too. He's got a different level of intensity. He's pretty intense. So he'll come by for the week and we'll arrange which classes he wants to teach, or if he just wants to kind of assist and be there for the class. So, and people can be as involved or uninvolved as they want. Like we can provide all of the meals for them, or if they just kind of want to go off and explore Asheville, there's tons of breweries here, lots of hiking, waterfalls, stuff like that. So people can kind of go at their own pace of what kind of trip or visit they want.
Yeah, and we love, basically bartering for things. We, so even if somebody's on a budget, this is a really good place to be on a budget, because Asheville is, a little bit expensive if you're trying to, find a room for even a couple weeks here. It's kind of an expensive area. So, it's nice to kind of be able to provide all these budget options, because we understand how the feeling, because we were budget people for most of our lives. So we kind of know how to set it up in a way that basically anybody can experience it.
And what so you're running this gym a little bit different than most academies, I guess. This is just, I just base this on nothing, but I just imagine that most academies in the US are business, right? And you do this a little bit different in terms of payments and memberships and stuff. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we offer, it's really, I feel like, kind of an experimental approach to traditional capitalism, I think, is a good way to put it. But we offer pay what you want classes, where we suggest like what people should pay. But if they're not able to, then it kind of like, it affords them a little bit of dignities where they don't have to just be like, yeah, I'm sorry, man, I can't afford this. They can just come and they can train. And so, I think we started out with like just like this box that you just throw money in. And we've kind of, Amanda deals with all the financial stuff, so I'm just talking out of my ass right now. But it was kind of experimental because like we're trying to pay our bills. We owe somebody a lot of money for this piece of shit property. We have to pay them. So it was kind of an experiment to see like, well, if you're given the option to pay or not to pay, like what do you do? And I think most people, even if it's tough for them, they really try to find a way to pay, or they kind of offer like a work exchange, because this town has a lot of like very diverse people with diverse skill sets, and we can usually use it somewhere on the campground, whether it's art or if it's construction skills, or just somebody who has a lot of energy and can dig a ditch for me. But yeah, it's just I feel like, like my experience being a budget grappler for, I guess 14, 15 years up until we started the gym really influenced how I look at, I guess, the financial side of jiu-jitsu training. It's usually kind of a very exclusive club. I mean, even if you look at like, you know, the history of jiu-jitsu, you know, is usually taught to more affluent people. So we're trying to do it a little bit different, because there are, you know, a lot of people out here who don't have a lot of money. And this kind of gives them at least an opportunity, at least for fundamental, like you can come and learn fundamental jiu-jitsu for, you know, for very, very affordable, if not like almost completely free, or like with a work exchange or something like that. So,
yeah. And another kind of aspect of that is that a lot of our classes are offered as pay what you want. But we also don't have like traditional memberships or contracts. So that means that people can drop in for classes whenever they feel like it. They don't have to sign, you know, that long-term commitment or put that money up front. And so it kind of gets us a more interesting diversity of people who, you know, may not be able to commit to 3 months at a time, or may not be able to front that kind of money. But it definitely opens it up to more people, which in turn I feel like is good for everyone, because then it also opens up your training partners. You know, you don't have only the people who signed up for that month coming to practice. You know, you've got somebody who maybe comes in, you know, 3 weeks at a time, and then they drop off for a while. People always feel welcome. You know, there isn't any of that like, oh, I didn't pay my membership fee and now I'm late with that and they're going to be hounding me for money. Like, that's never the case. It's never a hard sell. And so people who are here want to be here. They've chosen to be here, not just because they paid membership for a year and now they feel guilty and so they're coming to train, but they actually choose to come and do that.
Yeah, but you know, we don't pay any affiliation fees. We own the property, and so like we were able to do this. I don't know if we'd be able to do it the exact same way, like if we were renting, but we probably would have tried. But it's worked so far. It's been really great. It helps pay the bills. We get to do jiu-jitsu, and you know, everybody has an opportunity now to train jiu-jitsu as long as they can make it out to our gym. So.
And how many members do you have? Like, and remember, we are just imagining the pandemic does not exist.
Right.
So because we don't have those traditional memberships, it's hard to say like, we've got 750 or whatever. But I would say typically in a month, the kind of consistent people who come by are probably about like 100 or so people. Yeah, in our classes, anywhere for like the most popular time and so on classes, anywhere between 15 and 25 people a class. So yeah, we're really happy with that. The open mats that we had before, it was really nice because it was one of the few actual, I guess, open mats in the area. Most of the other gyms' open mats tended to be more like their own members coming to the open mat. Ours was more of an open mat where people from other schools would come, from other towns would come. And so it was really nice. It was a good opportunity to get to roll with different people, but also get to connect with different jiu-jitsu people and be a part of like, I don't know, kind of create a jiu-jitsu community instead of just like your school group of people and that's it. So yeah, it's been really good because also having it be pay what you want, pay when you want. People feel free to drop by when they're in town, or maybe their school is closed that day. And so if they just want to get some extra training time in, they know that they can come to our gym. They're welcome. We don't, we're not kind of tribalistic, or people can wear whatever gi they want, whatever patch they want. What's important is they come and train and they're good training partners.
And so where does this come from? Why did you make this decision? I guess some people will say, why don't you just charge $200 a month and get rich? Where does this come from? Does this have any connection to your experiences working abroad, or?
Well, yeah, like I was saying, like I've been a budget grappler for a long time, and it's always like I don't know, whenever I can't afford like training, I always have to kind of go to the instructor, kind of like with my eyes downcast, just being like, I'm sorry, I can't afford your training. I'd love to, help out with teaching fundamentals or kids class or whatever you need, but and so it always sucked to kind of have that like, hey, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't afford this. So by having this model, it just kind of it makes it so nobody has to like feel bad that they aren't able to pay or not. So I guess a lot of it has to do with that experience. I think I initially got the idea from like walking tours. There's some like we go to like European cities and you go to like a free walking tour where it's free, but they encourage you to like tip at the end, sort of thing. Like, and so that way, I really like that because that way you're really like working for your money. It's not you're not just like giving some tour that nobody's gonna come back for. They decide to pay you or not. So it usually gives a little bit of a better quality experience, I think, if you're honestly working for your money. But I think another reason is like I'm the new guy in town. I'm some no-name brown belt who like has never won any awesome jiu-jitsu championships. So
Hey,
it's
you
like
won that gold. Don't forget. Never
yeah,
forget.
one day I'll get there. That's why I'm planning to stay a brown belt as long as it takes to get a world championship. um, yeah, so I guess it's just mostly based on our experience of being like I don't know, poor people.
No, I think it's really nice, and it's also a breath of fresh air from what's usually around. Like, it's jiu-jitsu is very business, has much of a business vibe to it often. I
Yeah.
guess it's more in the U.S. than I experienced in most other countries, but still, I think it's nice to see someone pull a little bit in the different direction and see if something could actually be done in a different way. And so far, it looks like you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, it's been a very successful experiment, I think, from our point of view, and it's just the right thing to do, man. I mean, you see all these like, it's just like the business standard is to, I don't know, I feel like almost like exploiting people with like memberships and you can only buy this gi and all the other stuff that's usually attached to it. This way, it's like it's I don't know, it's honest, it's open, and it makes it easier for us. Like if we don't like people, we just tell them like don't come back. So I'm not under any financial obligation to them. I mean, it's I think both ways. It's just a more honest approach, I think, to business.
Well, and also it's kind of the golden rule of treat people the way you'd want to be treated. And so you kind of think about like, oh, you know what I hate? Memberships. I hate having to sign like that 3-year contract. That sucks so bad. And so we don't do it. We don't make people do that.
Yeah, like I've been burned by that before. It's like, oh yeah, well you have a recurring draft on your account. So like, sorry you're injured, but yeah, the company we can't call the company and cancel that or whatever. It's just so much nicer. It's a nicer way to do business, and you don't have to like fool people by saying like, oh yeah, we're a family, so you need to come and like pay your dues even if you're not training or whatever it is. Um, and so I sleep well at night. I don't have to think about like if I'm exploiting somebody or not.
And so, how does it work if someone just wants to come and visit, or just train, or even live with you guys for a while, or teach, or whatever? How does it work?
Yeah, I mean,
So they essentially shoot us an email. Bobby is the one who handles most of the emails. Yeah, they email us, let us know like when they're wanting to come out, what their background is, all that stuff, and they start a conversation. And as we feel each other out, kind of thing, we see if it'd be a good fit. Because sometimes people don't click, and that's totally fine. But see if it's a good fit. If it's a good fit and we have space and all that stuff, which
Yeah, for shorter term people, it's a lot easier. It's like, yeah, do I have this space for this amount of time? Yeah, sure, you can come out. For longer term people, like we really like to have kind of like a dialogue going for a long time at very least. You know, if they're remote, and even when they get here, we like to kind of like just see, do you really fit into the big picture? And then yeah, so we've had people like I said, Michael's been here for a couple of years now. She yeah, she just kind of came in and was like, yeah, I want to be around for like a month and we'll kind of see what happens. And so she stayed on and she's still here. And so it happens a lot of different ways. But yeah, if you're looking for something more long term, yeah, we like to just kind of like feel it out for a while before we kind of commit to anything.
Yeah, but otherwise, yeah, just shoot us an email. Folks who are just kind of like more casually going through, like we said, we have the Airbnb. The name of our campground is Baying Hound Campground. But yeah, folks will book there. Sometimes we've had a few folks book there and then come train jiu-jitsu with us. So yeah, there are a few different ways that people can reach out. But email is always the best way. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you just want to come by and see it, yeah, like you can just book a campsite or something. They're pretty affordable. It's like, $20 or something, which is ridiculously cheap for staying somewhere for a night anywhere.
In Asheville.
Especially in Asheville.
Yeah.
Can people bring their own like tents, or how does this work?
Yeah, well, we have different options. Like we have some, like I said, like some structures basically built out of garbage and named after jiu-jitsu moves. And then we have like just traditional camping spots where you bring your own tent and sleeping bag and you just sleep there. And we have like a campfire and stuff. So
we have like one kind of like glamping tent where we provide the linens and all that stuff too. So if you're like not into any of the camping-ish stuff, we've got that too. So all different levels.
And what if people just want to come visit to train, but they don't want to sleep in nature in trash?
Yeah, that's totally fine too. Yeah, if you want to get like a hotel or Airbnb or something in town and just come train, absolutely no problem. And I don't mind. We're here all the time. We call this the compound, and so we're here on the compound almost all the time. So people can come by and I can give a tour. And yeah, we like having people come out and exchanges and things like that.
How many people can stay there?
It depends. It depends on how many work exchange people we have. Right now, like the bunkhouse that could potentially sleep 6 right now has like 2 women who are living in the like bunkhouse place. So obviously we wouldn't put anybody like guys in there with them. But we could.
But if you count all the campground spots and all the other little spots we have here, like 50 something, 60 maybe.
Uncomfortably 60 people.
Yeah.
But probably
like 50 is a good number. That's kind of what we're shooting for like our camp.
Mm-hmm.
How nice. Well, yeah. We just reached an hour, so I think we're gonna say that's it. Do you have any? How do people get in touch with you? Do you have like what's your website and Instagram or something? I was looking at
the website is opensourcebjj.net. And from there you can find links to like our schedule. You can find links to our intentional community. It's called the Kudzu Valley BJJ community, so that's on there. Our Instagram is Open Source Jiu-Jitsu AVL for Asheville. Yeah, and we're pretty active on like social media, stuff like that. So if people want to shoot us a message on Instagram or Facebook, we reply pretty quickly with that.
Don't expect a super fast answer from me. I'm not one of those guys that has like his cell phone on him all the time. So, but I will get back to you. I'm good about that. It just might take I don't know, a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Anything you want to add, or anything I forgot to talk about?
Not really. I mean,
you did a great job of covering pretty much everything, man.
Yeah.
So we do really appreciate the exposure, and we're really looking forward to. I think we're still signed up for the USA camp.
Yeah, someday.
So maybe someday we'll run into you again.
No, it's got to happen this summer.
Yeah.
It must.
No, it'll happen again. Yeah, I'm optimistic, man. We'll do it.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
Yeah, that's good. All right, and good. I think we'll keep it at that, and then I hope I can come visit one day. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
when things are more when the world is not burning.
Yeah. Yeah, anytime. Even if the world is burning, you just got to kind of put up with the situation, and
Yeah,
maybe we'll get your kids some playground equipment out there.
Please.
It's not super kid friendly right now, but maybe we'll get
It sounds
get
dangerous for kids.
Yeah, no, it's not. If you've raised your kids in Eastern Europe, this is nothing.
Right. Oh, yeah, 'cause you have different standards.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, and I'll stay in touch with you, and good luck with everything.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Okay. Have a nice day.
All
Thanks,
right.
you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so that's pretty much it for this episode. I will be back again whenever I come up with another plan for someone to interview. At the moment, things are obviously a little bit quiet at the Globetrotters office since the camps are not very easy to execute. But I'm optimistic, and hopefully next year is going to be easier, and I look forward to return to the camps again and see many of you guys and all of the people who've been going to the camps for many years. We filmed this documentary last year that it's kind of torture for us to not show it to anyone yet. It was supposed to be released this summer and then this fall, but it's simply too exciting a project to just put it on YouTube and let people watch it. I think it deserves a proper premiere, like an event where everybody has the opportunity to come and watch it in a movie theater. So we're still postponing that. Hopefully it's going to be in Estonia in the spring, when things look a little bit easier. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with this, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. Have a nice day.